Right then guys, it's PSL here, and I'm here for the second episode in my Stewart Manager career mode on Grand Prix World. Now, one thing I do have to say straight away, and it's quite embarrassing, especially as this is only the second episode in this series, and that is, the game save you saw in the first episode, that's gone. Erased, deleted, just gone. I don't know why it's gone. All I do know is that between the first and second episode, there was a massive Windows update. And before the Windows update, the game saves were there, and then after the Windows update, they weren't. I'm not necessarily saying that's the cause, but I don't see why it would have any impact anyway, to be honest. Well, I guess it would virtually put the CD back in, so to speak. I honestly don't know, but anyway, the game saves were gone, and I sort of saw it coming because I backed the game up twice, once on a external hard drive and on a Google Drive. All three games, so the original plus the two backups, all of them, I loaded them up, they had no game saves, and the really weird thing is they all loaded up without any sound, and I don't know why, so I had to go into the game settings and then turn the sound back on, which is really weird. To be honest, from a viewer perspective, you didn't really need to know all of that, because everything I did in the first episode, I did again. So, the testing, the engine improvements, so we're going to have the improvement to the power after the Australian Grand Prix. The testing, I did exactly the same thing. I made sure that the testing was $1,500 per mile, the same divvying up of the mechanics to achieve the same results, same amount of setup points. We did development testing, engine testing, everything. I explicitly did, I did again. To the point where I have exactly the same amount of money, to the dollar. So, yes, that's really it, to be honest. There are a couple of changes. Firstly, the technology. Now, in the first episode, all of the technology ratings were at least 2 in all aspects, performance and reliability. I wasn't quite able to do that because it's randomly generated, so I wasn't quite able to replicate that. However, I did get close. So all of them bar 1 are at least 2 out of 5 rated, and much like in the first episode, we've got 30% of my designers working on a technology upgrade to rectify that, and 70% working on a driver aid, the active suspension driver aid. So, yes, there is another change, actually, another slight change, and that is the number of assistants in each department is slightly different, but it's still around 40 in each one, because again, that's random every time you load up the game. And I have actually employed some people, because I do want to max out our department. We've got a capacity of 50 assistant staff members in each department, so I'm trying to max it out. And yeah, that's pretty much everything. I mean, as I said, I've got exactly the same amount of money to the dollar. So I even spent 40 grand on headhunters, and again, much like in the first episode, one of those headhunters found no one. So yeah, exactly the same. Still got Rob Armstrong, still got Mike Gascoigne again for next season. Chief Mechanics spoke to the same. I spoke to the same chief mechanics, they both rejected us on the same grounds. That's that. There was one thing I couldn't replicate, and I tried about 30 times, but he just wasn't having it. That is, the technical director, Harvey Postlethwaite, is the man I want, and the man who, in the first episode, he turned us down, hilariously, on the basis that Stewart isn't financially strong. Which is hilarious considering we've got more money than Tyrrell, and we're in a better position than Tyrrell in pretty much every aspect. Anyway, Postlethwaite turned us down. You won't believe how unlucky I was, because I've tried to get him to turn us down on the basis of not having a strong enough financial package. I was able to get him to sort of say that once. The other times he'll either accept the offer, or he will say the contract's too long. So that's it, and I'm making him exactly the same offer as I made him in the first episode. Same money, same race bonus, same championship bonus, same contract length. He might oppose the contract length, but aside from that, well, contract length is always That's always an issue in this game. That is one of the most annoying things, is contract length. But anyway, he'll either accept it or he'll say the contract's too long. We'll see. There you go. I mean, he still turned us down. It's still the same end result. One aspect of this game I want to get through, at least in part, before the Australian Grand Prix, is the commercial side to this game. Now, the commercial aspect is massive, and I'm not going to get through all of it in this video, so, well, let me just look at the Stewart car, the Stewart team. So, we've got, obviously, our engine supplier, tyre supplier, and fuel supplier, Ford, Bridgestone, and Texaco. Now, I'll go through the suppliers in the next episode, maybe episode after, and I know I keep saying, oh, I'll go through this in the next episode, and this in the next episode, but if I was to explain everything in this game in one video, it would be about an hour long. There's that much to explain and that much depth to the game. So we're just going to talk about the sponsors, the people who bring in the money to the team, because we desperately need some more. And as you can see, we're actually missing out on money because 2 of our sponsor slots haven't been filled up. So that's a bare minimum of $500,000 we're missing out on. Potentially, well, easily more. Could be $750,000, $1 million, $2 million, could be multiple millions we're missing out on. We do still have 4 cash sponsors, and we have HSBC. Now, HSBC, they're not a team sponsor, but they are our team sponsor. I'll explain what I mean. So, in the game, you do have team sponsors. Here we go. These are the big sponsors in Formula 1. So East, obviously in real life, East was West. Murano, in real life, Marlboro. Winfried, in real life, was Winfield, etc. Now, these are the big team sponsors, and they pay the big bucks. They really do. And the team sponsors, they're a turning point. They are what separate the teams that are financially, not financially comfortable, but certainly financially stable. I mean, look at Prost. Prost are such a dreadful team this season, but they've got a 3-star team sponsor. And that's the thing, is there's only 7 team sponsors, so only 7 teams can have a team sponsor. And obviously, they're going to want to sponsor the best teams, the best 7 teams in Formula 1. Hence why we don't have one, because in 1997, Stewart didn't do all that well, and all of these other teams did, so we're missing out. It's not just Stewart that is missing out, Arrows are missing out, and so are Tyrrell and Minardi. And these team sponsors are really, really helpful when it comes to bringing in income, because even the 1-star team sponsor of Red Bull, they pay per season, I'm not sure of the exact figure, but I would say it is between 5 and 9 million per season. That's a lot for one company. The 5-star team sponsors, East, Murano, Winfried, they pay, I'm not sure of the exact figure again, but I would say it is about $35 million. It's no wonder that the 3 teams with the biggest budgets this season are the 3 with the 5-star team sponsors. I could assign some of my commercial department to speak to Red Bull, but Stewart, we just have too bad of a history. They won't sponsor us. They will refuse. So there's no point speaking to them or any team sponsor, but they are, once we get a team sponsor, it will be a turning point. Even if it's just Red Bull, it doesn't matter. And I said in the first episode, I said I would do a run through of all the teams in their situation, but to be honest, I don't really need to, because as long as you know these following 3 things about each team, you get a pretty good idea of their situation. 1, whether they have a team sponsor, and if so, what level of team sponsor. So, Prost, the reason they've got so much money is because they've got Blondes, a 3-star team sponsor. The second thing you need to know about each team is the drivers. How good are their drivers? Are there any paid drivers at the team? And the third thing is the engines. Which engine supplier is the team with, and what sort of deal do they have? Is it customer, partner, or works? As long as you know those 3 things about each team, you get a pretty good idea of the situation they're in. So we can't get a team sponsor, we can get a cash sponsor. Anyone can get any cash sponsor, so anyone could potentially speak to anyone. Minardi theoretically could have all 5-star cash sponsors. It's unlikely though, because of course Minardi, they've got a very small commercial department and a very lowly rated commercial manager, so it takes a longer time for them to get deals done. Whereas McLaren could just turn up to, you know, HSBC, they could turn up and go, yep, we're McLaren, we want you to sponsor us, we're really quick, we've got all of these people to speak to you, all of these commercial assistants to speak to you to get the deal done ASAP. They've got a real commercial might and presence, an on-track presence which helps. We don't have any of that. I am going to speak to Castrol as a 5-star team sponsor, purely because Castrol, of all the 5-star team sponsors, Castrol is the one which quite often gets ignored. So obviously, you know, there's a potential we could be competing with McLaren or Ferrari or Minardi or Tyrrell, anyone, when we speak to any sponsor. But yeah, Castrol usually people ignore them, so just for the sake of avoiding competition, we're going to go with them. Now, as you saw, HSBC, they are a team sponsor. No, sorry, they are a cash sponsor, a 5-star cash sponsor, but they are our team sponsor. Now, what that means is that you can turn a cash sponsor into a team sponsor, and what that does is it means that irrespective of the sponsor's original offer, they will double the amount of cash they're willing to give you, but only on a 1-season deal. So HSBC, we doubled the amount of money we got from them just by making them our team sponsor. So that means HSBC were only willing to pay us $1.9 million, but then we turned them into our team sponsor and doubled that, which obviously is a massive help. And you can do that, and this is the sort of thing which it is so easy to miss out on, but we can't get a team sponsor. The team sponsors don't want to speak to us. We can't get them. We're not good enough in their eyes. So what we can do is we can turn our team sponsor slot into a cash sponsor slot. That's what Stewart did heading into the season. That's what we're going to have to do. So with any luck, we're going to wait for the deal from Castrol to be secured, and then just before we sign, we're going to turn the team sponsor slot into a cash sponsor slot that will make Castrol our team sponsor and then double the amount of money they give us. That's pretty much everything to do with the cash sponsors. The actual engine suppliers, tyres and fuel, I'll get into that in the next episode. I'll explain what I'm doing and why, because yeah, I'm not even quite sure what's going to happen with the engine sponsors, so I'll just have to wait and see. But anyway, yes, I'm going to speak to the engine, tyre and fuel suppliers, and yes, I'll cut back to you once I've done that. So then, I've divvied up the rest of my commercial staff to speak to our potential engine, tyre and fuel suppliers next season. Again, I'll explain why I've done this in the next episode. It's just, obviously, for the sake of actually getting a Grand Prix done in this series, and for the sake of not having these episodes drag on, I'm spacing out the talking points. So I'll explain why I've done this in the next episode. And also, I'm speaking to both Ferrari and Ford for engines, partly because I'm actually not sure what's going to happen. Because there's a few different things that could happen, hence why I'm inquiring, because I want to, basically I just want to compare the deals they're willing to offer us. So that's why we're speaking to both of them. Tyres, I'm speaking to Goodyear, and only 15% speaking to Goodyear, and for fuel, 20% speaking to AGIP, because for this sort of point in the career mode, for this size team, AGIP is the fuel supplier I would go with. They're the one I prefer anyway, for this point in the career mode anyway. So that's that, and obviously of course we've got 20% speaking to Castrol, the cash sponsor, and no one speaking to a team sponsor because they don't want to know. So that's pretty much that. There is this though, the VIP area of it. So 5% of my commercial staff are currently working on VIP treatment. Now, I'm sure there will be people who play the game and put a lot more staff into the VIP section of it, and I think it is a valid strategy. However, I always prefer to have all of my staff actually speaking to the sponsors and suppliers to get negotiations done, and then a small amount working on VIP treatment. That's just a preference, and it's something which I know works anyway. So what this is you can invite 3 different companies, suppliers, sponsors, whatever, to a Grand Prix to schmooze them to help aid deals, effectively to get deals done quicker. Like I already mentioned earlier on, especially with, well, it really applies to all of them actually, apart from, well, the tyre suppliers to a lesser extent, but it applies to all of them because, obviously, the sponsors can only sponsor one team. The engine suppliers, fuel suppliers can only supply a limited amount of teams, and you know, the bigger teams, McLaren, Ferrari, they've all got more commercial assistance. They can get deals done quicker. However, you know, we can still get deals done with the people we want to if we really pump the resources into it, specialise, and through VIP treatment. Of course, the top teams can do VIP treatment as well, and in fact, they're in a much better position to be able to do VIP treatment. So we've got Ferrari, their AGIP, and Castrol as our potential engine and fuel suppliers for next year, as well as a cash sponsor next year. So we're speaking to them, and we're also inviting them to the Australian Grand Prix. Now, as you can tell, it's going to be a low quality VIP experience because we've only got 2% of my commercial staff, lowly rated and very small commercial departments, working on the quality, but that doesn't really matter, to be honest. We can actually up the quality a bit in other ways by spending more money on the catering and celebrities, but then the cost, I mean, the cost gets ridiculous. I think I'm only going to do 2 out of 5 catering and celebrities just to keep the cost down, because this is going to be an expensive Grand Prix, all of this schmoozing. In fact, no, we'll go with that. The Australian Grand Prix is a key one for VIP treatment because it's a 4 out of 5 glamour event. One of the most glamorous races on the calendar is right at the start of the season. Now, a race's glamour does affect how influential or how much of a boost your VIP treatment is. So obviously, a VIP race at Monaco, that's going to help our sponsor negotiations to no end. Whereas at the Brazilian Grand Prix, which is a 1 out of 5 glamour event, yes, still inviting VIPs there and spending a load of money on catering and celebrities, yes, it will still have a boost, but not as much of a boost as at this Grand Prix, where it's a 4 out of 5 glamour event. So this is a key one. I mean, but look at that, we're spending more than a third of our remaining money on VIP treatment, so this better pay off. And it gets worse because, right, our driver orders, yeah, there's nothing really to talk about here, to be honest. Setup. Oh, the setup points, I'll come back to that in a second. Right, so it gets worse because we're spending nearly $500,000 on VIP treatment, and then we're spending another nearly $500,000, $450,000 basically, just on going to Australia. And you sort of got this in Grand Prix Manager too, but it is a thing in this game as well, where if you're a small team, you care about travel costs. In the same way that you care about how much it costs to test per mile, it actually matters. It's going to be an expensive race. If I had it my way, all the races would be at Silverstone, because then travel costs would be non-existent for us, and then that would save us a lot of money, but yeah, luckily we're going to get into the European part of the season soon, but then that's interrupted by Canada, and that's expensive to go to. So we're pumping in a lot of money to the Australian Grand Prix because it's all the way on the other side of the world, and we're paying for VIP treatment because it's a glamorous event. We will get some money back because, of course, our sponsors are due to pay us some money for the first round of the season. So it's not just an 800 grand outlay. Well, it is an 800 grand outlay, but it's not we will get some income from the Grand Prix. Although I'm still worried about how much we're spending. It should be fine, because this is... I don't think we're going to spend this much at any other Grand Prix this season, so this is... It starts off bad and only gets better. Setup, yes, okay, so... As you saw in the first episode, I did setup testing and I got setup points. And all it means is that you can apply points to boost certain attributes of your cars, your drivers, whatever, for each Grand Prix. Now, I don't really have a plan or strategy. Generally what I do is I just improve the weaker areas, because generally speaking in this game, the best things are the most balanced. If you look at Mercedes engines, they're the best ones in the game. Yeah, they've got the highest power rating, but they're actually fairly well balanced, well rounded. Same with the Ferrari engines, which are the second best. The best fuels in the game are so well balanced. It's not a case of being dominant in any area, it's a case of not having any weaknesses. That seems to be important in this game, so I just apply that same logic to the setup. But really I just, you know, if you can do setup testing, get some setup points, put them on the different areas, it helps, really. Although I don't really understand how it works, but, you know, we put some setup points on the car anyway. That's pretty much that. Oh, this is, oh, right, yeah, of course. Oh, this says a lot, doesn't it? This says about, firstly, how lowly rated our chief mechanic is, and secondly, how few mechanic assistants we've got, and thirdly, in fact, what is the morale like, actually? Morale has a massive impact in this game. We've got a... Oh, the morale in our engineering department isn't good as well, because morale affects effort. And you really do need effort to be high in the engineering and kind of all the departments, really. Mechanic maybe less so. It's still fairly important. Yeah, 2 out of 5 morale. We're going to have a morale crisis this season. It is inevitable with a team this small, this cash-strapped. It's going to happen. So I'm looking forward to that, because when morale goes down, effort goes down, and then it's not nice. But yeah, because we've got nothing going for us in terms of morale, chief mechanic rating, or mechanic assistance, yeah, it takes 91% effort just to produce perfect pit stops, which is fine because that's the only thing that matters. I'm just going to have the other 9% on race scrutiny for... We'll go over McLaren. I was going to go Ferrari, but we are trying to get Ferrari engines. Although, in this game, Ferrari as a Formula 1 team and Ferrari as an engine supplier are completely separate. And I'll explain that when I get into the engine suppliers later on down the line. So, I believe that's everything. So, without further ado, finally, let's head on to the 1998 Australian Grand Prix. Right then, so we're not going to view qualifying or the race. I'll probably do that in the next episode. There is good reason why I'm not going to view the sessions. Yeah, not for this episode. I'll do it in the next episode. We will watch the Brazilian Grand Prix. So that's that. So we're just going to sim this race. Now, unlike Grand Prix Manager 2, because on Grand Prix Manager 2, sometimes weird things can happen when you simulate a race, or you get strange stuff that happens if you simulate a race that would never happen if you watch the race. You don't get that on this game. Certainly, simulated races are normal. They're within the realms of reason, unlike on Grand Prix Manager 2. So, of course, we've got everyone here, and, well, let's just head on into the qualifying session. Okay, right. We'll have Barrichello on the hard tyres, and we'll put Magnussen out on the soft tyres. Generally, I kind of ignore the soft tyres. Well, it depends. The tyre war is alive and frantic and wild in this game. The tyre war is something to behold. So, but in the first season, well, generally all the time I kind of ignore the soft tyres, depending. Anyway, Magnussen is going to qualify on the soft tyres, Barrichello the hard tyres, and let's see where we do qualify. Don't want to change that. Not bad. Barrichello on the hard tyres qualified in 11th. He beat both Arrows. And Magnussen on the soft tyres beat both Saubers. That is a surprise. And we also beat both Prost, both Tyrrells and both Minardis. The one thing we do have to our advantage is that was a dry qualifying session, and as I said, the tyre war is wild in this game, but in the first season, generally speaking, the Bridgestone tyres are better in dry weather conditions and the Goodyear tyres are better in wet weather conditions. In later seasons that can change a lot, but for now, for this season, because it's a dry race, we're on the right tyres, the right tyre supplier. Which probably explains why we beat Sauber. That is a surprise. I reckon if ourselves and Sauber were on the same tyres, they would have beaten us. But still, 11th and 14th, that's a fantastic qualifying session. Let's have a look at the top. Of course, Häkkinen on pole position, Schumacher right there in second place. There's Coulthard, Irvine, both Williams, both Bennettons, both Jordans. That's pretty predictable actually. But how will the race go? Right, so the 1998 Australian Grand Prix. Dry race, yes, that's good because we're on the Bridgestone tyres. That is what I want to hear for this season at least. Nothing I can do here. Yeah, Magnussen has to race on the soft tyres. Barrichello on the hard tyres, right. Yeah, we don't want to mess about with the race strategy. Let's see how this goes. Look at that, maybe the soft tyres were the ones to go out on. Magnussen finished in 9th. Barrichello still had a decent race in 12th. That's a really good start to the season, much better than I was expecting. That is pretty much the best we can realistically hope for. 9th place. Very odd. I will be honest, it is slightly annoying, especially as I said that the race results, when you sim a race, are often within the realms of reason. This one actually is especially odd because Giancarlo Fisichella for Benetton won the Australian Grand Prix. Irvine in second, Frentzen third, Michael Schumacher in fourth, Jacques Villeneuve, the defending world champion, in fifth, and Mika Häkkinen in sixth. Coulthard retired with a electronics failure. Yeah, really, it's just Coulthard is the only interesting retiree there, but look at that, Magnussen. I told you Magnussen is better in this game than the game would give him credit for. Maybe the soft tyres were really the ones to go out on, but I mean, it's a fantastic race, actually, all in all. 9th and 12th. For a standard 1998 Stewart team, that's fantastic. I'm just perplexed as to how Giancarlo Fisichella won the 1998 Australian Grand Prix in a Benetton. I mean, it's impressive, but very, very odd. Constructors' Championship, that means Benetton are actually leading the Constructors' Championship. Ferrari in second on 9 points. Williams in third on 6 points. McLaren only in fourth on 1 point. In 1998, this is really going against the grain. So that is, yeah, that is the Australian Grand Prix. Very interesting. The end of the Australian Grand Prix pretty much brings with it the end of this episode. I just want to have a quick look at the news. And look at that. Häkkinen was on pole position and then didn't win the Grand Prix. And Giancarlo Fisichella won the Grand Prix. That's still really odd. That is quite some headline though. It really is. Fisichella to win a Grand Prix under any circumstances is odd. Quite impressive. But especially for the first season, that's really unexpected. Hang on, what? You're having a laugh, right? Come on. The Stewart drivers, not John Fellows because he's not racing and John Fellows, he can't critique. But anyway, so the Stewart drivers, presumably Rubens Barrichello and Jan Magnussen, are complaining that the Stewart car is so far off the pace. Well, they must have a really high opinion of themselves because we finished the race in 9th and what, 12th, 13th? And we qualified well as well. So are Barrichello and Magnussen saying that that was entirely down to their skill and nothing to do with the car? They're having a laugh. What do you mean the car is far off the pace? How can they have any sort of justification for that? Well, one better bit of news is that somehow I've been awarded Manager of the Month. I don't know how. I really don't know how, because I haven't done anything. I've signed a test driver and everything else. Well, I have made signings, but they won't come in until next season. I don't know how I've been awarded Manager of the Month. I mean, I'd like to think I've done some good stuff, but it's nice, although really, really odd. And that's the worst acceptance speech in history. I mean, it's... To be fair, actually, one good thing is that we lost less money that Australian Grand Prix than I thought we would. I think we entered the Grand Prix with 1.2 million and we've left it with only 1 million. Well, I say only 1 million, to be fair, that's more than I expected, because bearing in mind it cost $449,500 just to travel to Australia, plus the extra $400,000-ish worth of VIP treatment. I thought we were going to lose much more money that Australian Grand Prix, but to still end with $1 million, that's good, because that's probably the most expensive Grand Prix of the season, but, well, we are going to have some major costs towards the end of the season, but for now, financially, we're looking quite good. Maybe that's why I've been awarded Manager of the Month. So then, guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, be sure to leave a like, comment down below, and I'll see you guys in the third episode in this series where, amongst other things, we'll be doing the Brazilian Grand Prix. I'll also be checking in on the commercial deals, what deals are on the table, what progress we've made, I don't know. I'm going to keep it a surprise for the next episode, but I hope that VIP treatment helped. Well, anyway, we'll see what effect it had in the next episode, and we'll also find out how well I'll do in the Brazilian Grand Prix. And I hate to say it, but I doubt we'll do any better than we did in the Australian Grand Prix. I think we peaked early. Although, given that we had VIPs with us at the Australian Grand Prix, I think the last race was a very, very good time to do well. We want to do well when we've got VIPs with us. Anyway, we'll find out what progress we've made with the commercial deals in the next episode. But until then, I'll see you guys later.